Hello, everybody.
Hey,
It's probably dead at this point. Switch. Looks like these are dead too. All right. To let everybody in, because we got a bunch of people trying to join still.
Dan, I like your outfit. Where are you working out of, Dan? Doesn't look like your office.
Yeah, this is my old office. My old desk. I'm in Stanford today because we have a mastermind with Gary Keller this afternoon.
A mastermind with Gary Keller. What do you have to do to get that mastermind with Gary Keller?
We have to be in the top 200 market centers in the country for owner profit.
Oh, wow. And is profit share directly correlated with owner profit?
It absolutely is. It's roughly 48% of our total profit, which means it's just under, which means we're also in the top 200 for profit share.
I don't believe that. That's
you guys
insane.
could take this on the road. This is pretty good.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We've got a fun session that we worked out literally this morning.
Yeah.
We took advantage of Carlos, Steve, and I all being here, and we are so prepared. I've got like I have like 2 pages of notes that I'm going to work you through. All right. So I want to start. Steve, why don't you start with that overview that we that we found and talked about? And we're going to send this out to everybody.
Yeah, it's called the Agent Profit Share Plan. It's really brilliant. Again, KW has so much stuff, guys. There's so much stuff on Connect that I've never seen everything on Connect in 17 years, right? So use that as a resource for looking for things. But I think this is really straightforward and will help you guys plan out, what this profit share thing could look like for you. Can I share, Dan?
Give me 1 second. Yeah. You should be able to now. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So can you guys see this? Yeah, Joanne can see it. Great. Awesome. So we're going to give you guys, we'll email it to you and you can, print it out, however you want to do this, but I highly encourage you to do it. It takes you, from asking the basic question of, what is your passive income goal? We used to say it was your freedom number. Maybe a couple of you have heard me say that before, your freedom number. Like, what is that number of money that you would need each month that would completely free you, right? To do whatever, to pay all of your obligations. If all of a sudden, Joanne, you're taking care of your parents, you want to buy your parents another house or their retirement condo, whatever it is, right? That freedom number, right? So what is that passive income goal for you guys? And then ask some more questions. How many agents are currently in your first line? How many agents do you want to be in your first level 3 months from now? Write your profit share mindset mantra. What mantra will keep you motivated to build your wealth? I love that question. So again, we're going to email this to you guys. Take a few minutes to work on this. And then next meeting, we'll go through this a little bit and see if some of you want to share what you put down. What types of lead generating for profit share will you engage in to reach your goal? This is interesting. So it spells out a couple ideas: inviting co-op agents to meet with Dan, Carlos, or I, or inviting them to an office career night, or inviting them to one of our trainings. Big event coming up is inviting co-op agents, co-broke agents to Mega Camp, which is going to be in August. Ideas about, again, lead generation for that. Again, you're time blocking your lead gen now for your business. You're going to time block your lead gen for profit share. Build a pipeline, treat profit share like a business, build your database, right? Create a database of those that you want to be at KW, right? There's going to be some that you don't want here, right? So build that database, qualify the lead, ask questions, and know more than their contact info. Do they have the real estate license? We know they already do. If we're talking about co-brokes, do they already have a connection to Keller Williams? I mean, that's kind of an awkward question if you ask me. I think what Dan's going to dive into in a minute is more of the probing questions. So we'll talk about that in a second. Refer agents, give the gift of opportunity to your referral and your team leader. Invite the agent to the opportunity of a meeting with your team leader. Again, we can review the script, the Mo Anderson script about hey, Sue, thank you so much for, getting that deal done with me. You were amazing. Really appreciate it. I just ran into my team leader, Dan, in the hallway, and I told him that you were amazing. You made this deal, really come together for me. And he wants to reach out and thank you for you doing the business the way that you do it. And he even has a gift for you. So would you promise me to take his call? Simple, really, really simple. And then close the loop follow-up, because the fortune is in the follow-up. We all know that, right? Agents, we're not good at follow-up, so you got to focus on that. And you check in with that person and you stay in touch with them. So again, we just think this is a real good basic plan. I'm going to email it to everybody.
And the reason we wanted to share this today is because this is essentially what we're going to walk you guys through as a team, right? So we're going to take this step by step with you, right? So we talked a little bit last week about the mindset, right? Getting into the mindset. We're going to kind of reframe a little bit more of that today. And then we're going to start talking about the next step, which is the lead generation. What does that look like? What do those conversations look like? What are some of those scripts? Sound good? How are we feeling? Feeling good?
Cool.
All right. There's more people in here than there are on video. So if you're here and you're not on video, I would kindly ask you to correct that.
Yeah, we want to see you all. Come on.
It's way more fun when we can see you. All right. So last week, we really talked about, well, I'm going to start it this way. I like to start with questions, right? So, what do you think is the difference between a customer and a stakeholder, right? And then the follow-up to that question is, do you think of yourself as the customers of Keller Williams, where we are here to serve you, or do you think of yourself as a stakeholder? Right?
Stakeholder is the right answer.
That's a really distinct difference, right? Because when you're a customer, the questions are always, okay, well, how can you fix this, right? Or why is it done this way when I want it done this way instead, right? It's, well, no, this isn't my problem. This is your problem, right? Whereas a stakeholder, a partner, thinks of things like, okay, well, how can we fix this? Or how can we do this better, right? It's a we conversation. The other big distinction is that partners and owners, real business owners, they aren't in it just for the money, right? The most successful business owners started their business because they wanted to build a strong and lasting business. They wanted to build something for themselves, sometimes for their families, right? Something that would create a legacy for themselves and their families, right? They did it because they want to work with talented people who they can learn from, right? Or talented people that they can help grow, right? And so they're consistently seeking out talented people so that they can work with those talented people, or they can help them grow themselves. All right. And another big distinction between a customer and an owner is that an owner or a stakeholder wants their people to experience success in all aspects of their life. Right? It's not about themselves, it's about the people that they're working with. So then the next question I ask is, do you think of yourself that way? Do you think of yourself as an owner? Do you think of yourself as a stakeholder? Are you that kind of person? And then the next question is, well, if you're not, or if some of these questions you kind of said, I don't know if I do that, right? Or I don't know if I really am. The next question is, well, do you want to be? Right? Because even if you're not, even if you do, I'll tell you this, like, the reason why Steve said before that, like, you want to build a database, right? That database should have people that you want to be in business with, as well as people that you don't. And I'll tell you why. Because there are a lot of real estate agents in this industry who are not owners, who are not stakeholders, who they think of their relationship with the brokerage as a customer and client, as a customer or client relationship, where the brokerage is there to do things for them. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Except that's not how we view our agents here at Keller Williams, right? And that's also part of the reason why there can be a little bit of friction with agents sometimes at KW, right? Because that's not the mindset that we take here. we want to provide the best level of service we can for our agents, right? And give them the best opportunity they can. But we do it from the perspective of a partner, that we're a partner in your business. And our job is to help you grow it, right? Our job is to give you the tools and the training and the support that you need to do that. But we do it from the perspective of partnership. So then now the next question becomes, okay, if you either consider yourself a stakeholder already, or if you want to be, then let's ask some questions around what that looks like and what that feels like, right? So do you reach out to help others in their business, whether they're agents already here at Keller Williams or not? Do you currently help other people with their business? Now, I know the answer is going to be yes for most of you, because that's a huge part of our culture here, right? And that's a huge part of what people love about our culture here, right? But again, if you're not as gung ho about that question, the next question is, well, what if you did? What if you did reach out to people to help them with their business, right? How would that feel,
I
right?
feel awkward, I'll tell you that, right? Initially, it may feel kind of awkward. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, do a lot of you, when you're having a transaction, do you strike up a conversation with the other agent, asking them about how's their business, or, what are your struggles lately? Or, hey, I just came from this great training about blah, blah, blah. How are you finding that in your business? Do you ever have those conversations? I mean, and it's okay if you don't, because a lot don't.
Exactly.
A lot are just
Exactly.
focused on the transaction, they're getting it done, right? But it's not hard to do. It's
Yeah.
really not hard to do.
I'll
Go
be
ahead.
honest, like when I first joined KW, like that was all right. So when I joined KW, I dove into KW like deep, like I'm right off the deep end, right? Just drinking that Kool-Aid from a fire hose.
Right in that desk that you're sitting.
Right from this desk where I'm sitting right now. Steve, I don't know. I feel like Steve maybe misses me a little bit, which is why he keeps this desk empty, just like hoping I'm going to come back at some point. I don't know. I think I that's just my personal belief.
We're going to build a shrine to Dan there.
So but the question, but like when I thought about this question as I was developing today's class, 30 minutes ago, I I started thinking, I was like, well, when I was an agent and doing transactions, I'll be honest, before KW, it was very transactional. It was very, let's get this done. I don't need to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you, right? About anything other than what we need to get done right now. And again, nothing wrong with that. However, what would it look like, or how would it feel if we did take a slightly different perspective, right? And take a slightly different approach. And we put some a little, just a little bit of effort into the human side of things, right? And now the next question becomes, picture that person that you're working with and that you're helping, then joining KW. And now you're working together to grow your businesses together, right? What would that look like? How would you feel in that scenario? How would it feel? How would it feel to have somebody come back to you a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later, and thank you for that moment? Because I will tell you, that is one of the best feelings I get on that is one of the best rewards I get from this job, is the gratitude I get from agents who have been here for a little while and are here because of me, because I've sponsored them to Keller Williams. And I'll tell you, most of the people I sponsor are here in Stanford, not in Ridgefield, right? But I still get that. And I will tell you, it is one of the best feelings that you'll ever have, right?
And guys,
what would that do for you?
it would be amazing, right? I mean, how fulfilling would that be? And it is the way Keller Williams has grown to be the largest real estate company on the planet.
Yeah.
We've never advertised ever. So it's all coming from contribution and building those relationships, and then feeling that amazing feeling of gratitude when that agent is here and they come and knock on your door one day and say thank you.
So we wanted to start today's class with mindset, right? And we're going to circle this back to your homework, because the next piece of this is you all, almost all of you, not all of you actually, tisk tisk, right? Not all of you, but most of you emailed Steve and I, or just me, what your goals were, right? And your big why. And that's really important. And that's why we started there, right? So now picture yourself a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever it is, right? Earning that money that you want to be earning, right? Having those great people in your world, right? That you're working with now at Keller Williams to grow your businesses together, right? What would that do for you? How does that feel? What are you doing with it, right? What are you doing with that money? I love that. Like, what's the big why, right? Supporting your family, traveling, building your retirement, right? What does it look like 5 years from now when you've built up your, $5,000, $10,000 worth of passive income? And you're able to retire with, a passive income of $100,000, $60,000, $150,000 coming in every month. But it's not just the money. It's what you can do with it. Unfortunately, Steve isn't wearing the shirt, right? But it's not about the money. It's about what you can do with it, right? All right. So did anybody have any realizations from last week's homework around their goals, around their big why, around what they're going to do with it? Anybody want to share? Nobody wants to share. Oh, Joanne.
I'll share. I just realized that I really need to keep in touch with past co-brokers to keep building on that relationship.
Sure. So let me ask Joanne, but why? Why do you want to build your profit share?
Because I'm looking to have the passive income for investment properties.
Yep.
Oh, you muted yourself again.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I want to be able to invest in more properties. So I have that as my passive income when I retire. So I'm a little more comfortable, and also have that for my daughter, pass it on to her because, she's my sponsor. So my downline helps her. And every month, well, my person, I only have one person, I have to say, unfortunately not doing a whole lot, but I am holding my own, and every time my daughter gets a check, she said, "Mom, thanks." So it's great.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Love that. So it's not just about you; it's also about your family. It's also about building that for your daughter. I love that. How about you, Dave?
I think for me, it's just realizing how it's going to feed the rest of my business engine. As you both know, I'm pretty ambitious. I'm in study mode right now, so going okay. But anyway, I'm looking forward to really building my downline and my profit share to help me do a lot of the bigger and better things that my eventual business plan is going to bring to me. That's part of it. I'm very investor minded for everyone on the call. And so trying to find Keller Williams obviously has an amazing value proposition in its own right. But what I'm trying to figure out is how I can kind of personalize it, because I aspire to grow my own team. In other words, my downline that I recruit, I want to actually work closely with them. So Dan, your opener today was very prescient in that regard. I don't want to just say, okay, great. I brought you in, congratulations. I'm here for you if you need me, but good luck. I want to actually, build a team to really, really drive it. So that's what I kind of thought about when I was doing my homework last week.
Love it. So that's all right. So then the next step, which is kind of like what was the most popular question last week, which is, okay, well, how do we do it? Right? What do we say? Like, what does that look like? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want to start with, again, starting with questions, right? So think of a time when somebody told you a story, right? A recent time where somebody told you a story. Now, as they're telling you a story of them doing it, right? So, Steve, I went on this crazy trip this weekend. With my girlfriend, we went to Philadelphia, but we didn't know we were going.
Mm.
We were told that that we had to be at the train station at 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. And we had no idea where we were going. And we were told that it was going to be pretty warm where we were going, that it was going to be sunny, that we were going to be doing a lot of walking around, and that we were going to be going out to a couple nice dinners. So to dress, bring something that we could wear out. And so we packed our bags. We showed up at the train station that morning, and then we opened an envelope that told us where we were going and what we were doing.
That's really cool, Dan.
Cool.
Right. So now what happened as I was telling that story? Were you just listening to my story, or were you actually kind of picturing yourself in that story as well? Right. When we tell a story, like the power that a story can have is that it doesn't just convey what I was experiencing, but for everybody hearing the story, it gets their mind thinking. It gets their mind thinking, oh, well, that sounds interesting, or oh, that sounds scary, or right. But they start thinking those things because they're picturing themselves in your story. They're putting themselves in your story. So powerful question, right? How could telling a story about why you joined KW be compelling for the person that you're telling it to? Right? Might it start getting that person picturing themselves in your shoes going through that process? Right? Might it hit a nerve with them and get them to start asking some questions about their own business, or about where they are in their business, or about their lives, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, a relatable story is always important.
Absolutely, right? So here's what we're going to work on today, because this is essentially your recruiting script, right? Is creating your KW story. And there are 4 pieces to it that are really, really important, all right? The first of that is that it has to be yours. It has to be unique to you, all right? The second is that it has to be somewhat succinct. A few of you on this call can probably attest that I can be a little long-winded, right? So brevity is not one of my strong suits. However, it needs to be succinct, because who likes to listen to a really long story? Anybody? No, right? So it has to be somewhat succinct. The third piece is that it cannot be a sales pitch. The term we use as team leaders is that we don't want people puking KW all over people, right? So it can't be a sales pitch. And the reason and the way you make it not a sales pitch is because you don't make it about KW, you make it about you, right? What's the first step? It has to be uniquely yours. So it has to be about you. And then the fourth piece is that there has to be a difference maker. All right. There has to be a piece of the story that highlights what's made the difference, or what differences you've seen in yourself. And those are the 4 pieces to creating a powerful KW story. All right, so what I'd like to do now is I'm going to run you through a series of questions to answer. And this is going to also be your homework. So don't worry about like having to try and answer them now, but I'm going to run you through a few questions that will help you kind of create your KW story. All right. So the first question, what first caused your curiosity in Keller Williams? All right. Was it a what? Was it a who? All right. But what first caused your curiosity in Keller Williams? And then I want you to think back to that moment. And what questions did you have in your mind back then? What were you thinking about in that moment? The third question is, how did you get your questions answered? All right. So when you first create, you first had some curiosity created from something or someone, which then created some questions in your mind, which then caused you to seek out answers to those questions, right? And so how did you get your questions answered? Again, was there a place that you went or a person that you talked to? All right. Fourth question. Now, what surprised you that you didn't expect along that path? Right. And then the fifth question, the last few questions are kind of really, really important to create that uniqueness, and first the uniqueness, and the last piece, which is the difference maker, right? Now, what has KW done for your business, for your life, for your family, for your wealth, or for your opportunity? What has it done for you personally? Not KW specifically, but what has joining KW done for you personally, right? What has joining KW done for your business, for your life, right? Because we're not here trying to say that, yeah, KW is the cure-all for all of these areas of your life, but what difference has it made in those areas of your life, right? And then what about the KW world gets you excited, right? Is it the fact that you get to work with incredible people, right? Or that you love the people that you work with? Is it financial? And that the fact that I talked to somebody, I asked one of our top agents the other day, like, what is your number one thing that you love about KW? She's like, well, because I can earn 100% of my commissions for 9, 10, 11 months out of the year. That was her first answer. And I said, okay, what next? And now she had well, I love the leadership. You guys are the most supportive leadership I've ever had in my business. You guys are always here to answer questions, and you're always asking me tough questions to push my mindset and to push my growth, right? That was her answer. That was uniquely hers, right? You got to ask the same thing. What is it about KW that gets you excited about being here? All right. So that's going to be your homework for the day. But here's the thing. If you want to take like kind of a next step, the next step is actually starting to use your KW story in conversations with some of these agents that we talked about, right? So the second piece of your homework is going to be to think about I want everybody to kind of come up with a list of 10 people, right? And this could be 10 people that you're excited, that you would be excited to work with. It could be 10 people that you've already worked with and loved working with and would love to work with them more on a regular basis, right? It could be 10 people that you just think run really strong businesses that you've never worked with, but you think they're a really great agent and you feel like they'd be a great fit for KW, or you just think that they're just a rock star, right? So that's the second piece to your homework. All right. First piece is to go through those questions, and don't worry. I will put those questions. I guess I can put those questions in the chat.
I'm gonna email everybody the guide, the
Perfect.
plan, so I can send them all the questions too.
Perfect. All right. And then the second step of your homework is to create a list of at least 10 people. All right. If you have 15 or 20, that's okay too, right? We're not gonna punish you for having extra. All right. And then the next question then becomes, well, when do I share my story? Okay, I've put the time in to actually create this story. When do I do it? Right? When do I have that conversation? And this is really, really important, because the timing of it will determine whether or not you're helping somebody or puking KW all over them, right? And so the timing of it is when it's natural to do it. And when is it natural to tell somebody a story? When they ask for it, right? You should only be talking about your KW story when somebody asks for it, If you call somebody up and just start telling them your story, my guess is it's probably not going to be received pretty well, right? Very well, right? And so it's not going to be effective. However, when is it natural for somebody to ask you a question? Joanne?
I'm thinking you ask them the question first.
Right? Script 101, script work 101, right? If you want somebody to ask you a question, be proactive and ask them the question first. So one of the most important questions you can ever ask somebody, how do you like it at XYZ Realty? Because what's going to be after they give you an answer, and maybe you ask them a couple of follow-up questions like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that they had that there, right? Whatever they say, right? Or I didn't know that that was like there, or like, oh, that's interesting. Like, how's it like? What's it like to work with so-and-so, right? You ask a couple of follow-up questions, dig into that a little bit more. What's their natural response going to be? Huh, how do you like it at Keller Williams, right? And now guess what? Now you have the opportunity to tell them your story. Now, here's the really important piece though. When they ask you follow-up questions, or if you have piqued, if you have piqued their curiosity a little bit, right? Or if you've hit a nerve a little bit with something that you've said, what's their natural response going to be? What's their response going to be to your story? Any guesses?
Curiosity, amazement.
Yeah, so if they're curious, or if you've struck a nerve, they're most likely going to ask you more questions, right? That's the really important pivot point in the conversation. Because if you start answering their questions, and their questions that are about Keller Williams, you're now pitching them. You're now recruiting them. Now, if they ask you a question and it's about your experience or your story, that's one thing. But as soon as the questions start becoming about KW, you're now in a recruiting conversation. And here's the thing. Your experience at KW is going to influence what you say about KW. And the biggest problem is that if I asked everybody these questions, next week when we come back, well, not next week because of July 4th. So I think we're going to do 2 weeks from now for the next one. When we come back, I guarantee every single one of you are going to have different stories. Right? And that's a really, really powerful thing to recognize, because your story, while it might create curiosity in them, is not necessarily going to be their story. And that's what Steve and I spend almost all of our time doing, is uncovering what it is that they need, or what it is that they're looking for help with, and how KW can best help them in that regard. And that's how we recruit. We don't recruit by throwing checks around or making offers, things like that. It's all about serving a need. That's why people make a change. So your answer to those questions is, you know what? I'm not really sure. You should really talk to Dan. Or, you know what? You should really talk to Carlos. Or, you know what? You should really talk to Steve. It's a great question. You know what? You should really talk to Steve. And that's your opportunity to create a referral. Make sense? So that's your 3 steps to creating a referral. First is asking them how they like it at their brokerage. The second is telling your story. And then the third is resisting the urge to answer their questions and just use that as an opportunity to create a referral. And that's it. Those are the 3 steps to creating a referral to your team leader. All right. How does everybody feel about that? Does that feel doable?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. So here's everybody's homework is going to be to go through the, 8 questions that I posed to you, right? To help create your KW story. We'll email those questions out. All right. The second step is going to think about 10, maybe 15, maybe 20. I don't know. People that you would love to be in business with, or that you already maybe have a relationship with. All right. Or you would love, or just that you respect and admire. All right. And then the third piece, if you so choose, right, would be to maybe reach out to a couple of those people and have that conversation. Have those conversations. Grab coffee with somebody, right? Grab lunch with somebody, right? And at some point in the conversation, you're gonna ask, hey, how do you like it at your brokerage? So that they will eventually ask you the same question. Make sense? All right, cool. So Steve is going to email everybody on the call, the profit share plan, creating your profit share plan. All right. As well as the steps to create your KW story and the steps to create your referrals. Create referrals. All right. How do we feel at this point? Do you feel like you have a better comfort with what that conversation could look like?
Yes.
Is anybody not 100% is anybody not sure that they're comfortable with that conversation? And if you're not comfortable saying that out loud to the group, that's okay. You can reach out to Steve or I, right? If you have some hesitations there as well. All right. And we can kind of talk through that because maybe we need to tweak this a little bit, right? Or maybe we need to customize this, but this should give you a plan that allows you to kind of customize this for yourself. Because again, it's about your KW story, right? Sound good? Makes sense?
Yep.
Feel good? All right.
All right, guys.
That's it. That's what we have for today. Reach out to Steve or I. Let us know what questions you have, and we'll take it from there. All right. We'll see you all back probably in 2 weeks, not next week because of the holiday, but we'll probably do 2 weeks now. So you have some extra time to work on this. All right. And we'll go from there. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Happy
Everybody.
4th of July.
You too.